The day my family destroyed me, I stood alone in my new apartment surrounded by cold takeout and shattered dreams. I never imagined that 3 months later, I'd be holding the deed to a $400,000 lakefront property while watching their faces crumble as they realized what they'd lost forever. My name is Haven, and this is the story of how my family's cruelty became the catalyst for the most unexpected blessing of my life. For 8 years, I'd sacrificed everything for one dream: homeownership. 8 years of saying no to weekend getaways while my friends posted Instagram stories from wine country. 8 years of budget pasta and Netflix instead of cocktail bars and concerts. 8 years of watching my savings account inch upward while my social life withered on the vine. As a middle manager at Stratford Associates, I earned enough to pay my bills and save aggressively, but nobody would call my career glamorous. My coworkers thought I'd lost my mind, living like I was taking monastic vows in my 20s and early 30s. Life's happening now, Haven, my colleague Kevin would say, waving concert tickets in my face. You're missing it. I'd just smile and shake my head. What they couldn't understand was the physical ache I felt every time I signed my rent check, knowing I was building someone else's wealth instead of my own. In a world that felt increasingly unstable, I desperately needed something permanent, something that belonged to me. The call that changed everything came on an ordinary Tuesday evening. I was stirring a pot of the same lentil soup I'd eaten 3 times that week when my phone lit up with Claire's name, my college friend who'd built a thriving real estate career. Haven, she said, her voice vibrating with excitement, I found something absolutely insane. There's this apartment, the owners are practically fleeing to Texas and pricing it to sell yesterday. I turned down the heat on my soup. How low are we talking? Half of market value. She paused. But Haven, it's going to need work. Serious work. I'm talking kitchen cabinets from the Carter administration, bathroom fixtures that belong in a museum, and floors that haven't seen love since disco was king. My heart accelerated. But the bones are good? The bones are fantastic. Solid construction, great layout, natural light for days. It's in that pre-war building on Catalina Street with the ornate cornices. I knew it immediately. I'd walked past that building countless times, admiring its character while living in my cookie-cutter rental with paper-thin walls. Send me everything you have, I said, already mentally calculating what was left in my savings account. 20 minutes later, I sat cross-legged on my bed, scrolling through what could generously be called disaster photos. Wallpaper that documented the evolution of terrible taste through decades. Kitchen cabinets with a peculiar yellowish-brown finish. A bathroom with harvest gold fixtures that should have been buried alongside 8-track tapes. But beneath the ugliness, I saw potential. Beautiful proportions. Tall windows flooding the space with light. Original crown molding. Hardwood floors that, despite looking like they'd hosted a furniture dragging competition, were solid oak that would shine once restored. I texted Claire immediately, I need to see it. Tomorrow. Standing in that neglected space the next day, breathing in the distinct aroma of dust and disuse, I felt something shift inside me. My father had been a maintenance manager for an apartment complex when I was growing up. Weekends meant trailing behind him with a toolbox as he fixed leaky faucets and patched drywall. Pay attention, Haven, he'd say. Someday you'll need to know this. He'd been right about that, just not about much else. As I moved through each room, I mentally stripped away decades of questionable design choices. I ran my fingers along windowsills where morning light pooled like liquid gold. I tapped walls to find the solid structure beneath peeling wallpaper. What do you think? Claire asked, watching me closely. I think I'm about to do something completely insane, I replied, and I meant it. The mortgage process felt like psychological warfare designed by sadists, but 8 weeks later, I stood in my empty living room holding keys that actually belonged to me. Not rented. Not borrowed. Mine. I sank to the paint-stained floor and cried, not from sadness, but from pure, overwhelming relief. 8 years of sacrifice had finally manifested into something real. Something permanent. I kept the whole thing secret from my family. I wanted it to be a surprise, this grand reveal where I'd finally proven I could build something meaningful on my own. My parents, Anthony and Catherine, had always made it clear where their priorities lay. My older sister Jennifer was the golden child, married to Damien in a wedding that cost my parents $30,000, living in a house they'd helped finance with a $15,000 down payment gift. She was the one with the perfect marriage, the perfect house, the perfect Sunday dinners at my parents' place every single week. Me? I showed up when work allowed, which wasn't often enough to maintain the same level of closeness. But I didn't resent it much. I'd chosen independence, and independence came with a price. The weekend after closing, I spent every waking hour sitting in each empty room, planning renovations and imagining how it would look when I was finished. The following Saturday, I drove to my parents' house with pictures loaded on my phone and a heart full of anticipation. Saturday dinner at the family home was sacred tradition. The moment I walked through the door, the familiar scent of Mom's legendary pot roast wrapped around me like a warm embrace. Haven! Mom jumped up to hug me, her face lighting up. Perfect timing for dessert. We were halfway through Mom's pecan pie when I couldn't contain my excitement anymore. My heart hammered against my ribs as I set down my fork and looked around the table at the 4 people I loved most in the world. I have something to tell you guys. The conversation stopped. 4 pairs of eyes focused on me, expectant smiles playing around the edges of their mouths. I bought an apartment. Silence crashed over the table like a wave. They stared at me with expressions I couldn't quite read, confusion mixed with something that might have been concern. Mom recovered first, throwing her hands up. Haven, why didn't you tell us? Why didn't you ask for our advice? My smile faltered slightly. I wanted it to be a surprise. I wanted to show you what I accomplished. I pulled out my phone with fingers that suddenly felt clumsy. Look, here it is. It needs work, but the potential is incredible. I handed the phone to Jennifer first. She looked at the screen and started laughing. Not the delighted laughter of someone sharing your joy, the sharp, cutting laughter of someone who found your choices amusing in the worst possible way. Oh my God, she said, tilting the phone toward Damien. I'm convinced you have absolutely no taste whatsoever. You actually bought this disaster. The words hit me like a physical blow. My smile crumbled as Mom took the phone and shook her head with the expression you'd use when discovering your teenager had gotten a face tattoo. Haven, honey, you should have brought Jennifer with you to look at places. She has such a good eye for these things. This apartment is... She paused, searching for words that would sound kind but still get her point across. It's terrible, sweetheart. Dad leaned over Mom's shoulder to peer at the screen. Definitely looks like a project, he said in the tone he used for diplomatic understatements. Damien handed my phone back with a smirk that made my stomach clench. Well, it's very suitable for you, Haven. Suitable for me. Like I was somehow less deserving of something beautiful. Like my standards should naturally be lower. I sat there for another 5 minutes, watching them return to their conversation as if nothing had happened. As if they hadn't just demolished 8 years of dreams and savings in under 2 minutes. As if the thing I was most proud of was just another poor decision made by Haven, who clearly couldn't be trusted with important choices. I should get going, I finally managed. Already? Mom asked, but her tone suggested she wasn't particularly invested in my answer. Yeah, I've got things to handle at home. Nobody tried to stop me. I walked to my car on unsteady legs, drove home in complete silence, and made it all the way to my new front door before I completely fell apart. I slid down that door and cried like I hadn't cried since I was a child, deep, body-shaking sobs that seemed to pull pieces of me apart. All those years of saving, all that excitement and anticipation, crushed in the time it takes to eat dessert. But after an hour of self-pity, something else kicked in. Anger. Pure, clarifying anger. They didn't contribute a single penny to this apartment. They didn't spend nights researching neighborhoods or weekends looking at properties. They didn't work overtime to boost their savings or eat instant noodles for months to afford closing costs. And they had the audacity to trash my choice without even trying to see what I saw. I looked around my empty apartment with fresh eyes. It needed work, lots of work, but it was solid. It was mine. And I was going to make it spectacular. That's exactly what I did. Every evening after work, every weekend, I transformed this neglected space into something beautiful. I stripped wallpaper until my fingers blistered. I sanded floors until my shoulders burned. I painted walls in colors that made the rooms glow with warmth. I updated the bathroom with subway tiles and brushed gold fixtures. I refinished the kitchen cabinets and added butcher block countertops that gleamed under new pendant lighting. It was exhausting, satisfying work that filled my bones with pride. This place was becoming everything I'd dreamed of and more. A month passed without contact from my family. I was too busy to care. When I finally stepped back and looked at what I'd created, I felt something close to awe. The apartment looked like it belonged in a design magazine. Modern but warm, sophisticated but comfortable. Every surface reflected hours of careful planning and patient work. Standing in my gleaming living room, I made a decision. I was going to have a housewarming party. Part of me, the part that still ached from their dismissal, wanted to prove them wrong. I wanted them to walk through my door and immediately realize how badly they'd misjudged both me and my apartment. I sent simple texts to Mom and Jennifer, having a housewarming party this Saturday at 5 p.m. Hope you can make it. Can't wait to show you what I've done with the place. 2 hours later, I got equally simple responses. Mom, we'll be there. Jennifer, sure, we'll come. No enthusiasm, no congratulations, no questions about what to bring. Just flat acceptance. But they said they'd come, and that felt like progress. I also called Grandma Frances, my dad's mother. At 78, she lived about 20 minutes away in the same house where she'd raised 4 kids and buried a husband. We'd always shared a special bond. When I was little, I spent weekends at her place learning to bake cookies and tend her garden. She taught me that love showed up in actions, not just words. Grandma, it's Haven. I have news. I bought an apartment. You did? Her voice filled with genuine delight. Oh, honey, that's wonderful. Tell me everything. For 30 minutes, I described every detail, the renovation process, the challenges, the victories. She asked all the right questions, celebrated each small triumph, made me feel like I'd accomplished something genuinely remarkable. I'm having a housewarming party this Saturday at 5. Can you come? I would love to, but I might be a little late. I have errands to run that afternoon. Is 7 okay? 7 is perfect, Grandma. That phone call filled me with more warmth than I'd felt in weeks. I spent the rest of the week preparing. I ordered food from Lorenzo's, the Italian place my family loved. Mom's favorite chicken parmesan. Dad's beloved lasagna. Jennifer's obsession with their Caesar salad. I bought wine, dessert, flowers for the dining table. I cleaned until every surface sparkled. Saturday arrived with crisp autumn air and golden afternoon light streaming through my windows. By 4:30, everything was perfect. Food warming in the oven, wine chilling, apartment gleaming. I felt nervous but excited, checking my phone and glancing out the window every few minutes. 5 o'clock came and went. No knock on the door. By 5:30, worry started gnawing at my stomach. Maybe they'd gotten the address wrong. Maybe there was traffic. I checked my phone obsessively, no messages. 6 o'clock. Still nothing. I started calling. Mom, Dad, Jennifer, Damien. Every single call went straight to voicemail. Not even ringing, like they'd turned their phones off completely. By 6:30, worry had transformed into something darker. A sick feeling in my gut that whispered what I didn't want to acknowledge. At exactly 7 p.m., my phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Hi, Haven. We're having dinner with Jennifer, Damien, and his parents at Le Diplomate right now. It's much more pleasant than being in your terrible apartment. Hope you understand. I stared at those words until they blurred. Le Diplomate, the ridiculously expensive French restaurant downtown that Jennifer had always wanted to try but couldn't afford. Before I could process the full impact of that message, another text arrived. This one from Jennifer. A photo of all 5 of them sitting around an elegant table, dressed up and raising wine glasses in a toast. Their faces glowed with happiness, like they were celebrating something wonderful. The caption read, "Family dinner, so much better than expected." Something inside me broke. Not just cracked, completely shattered. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't hurt. I was done. Completely, utterly done with begging for their approval, trying to prove my worth, hoping they might eventually see me as someone deserving of respect. I went to the kitchen and started eating the cold chicken parmesan I'd ordered for Mom. It tasted like cardboard, but I chewed mechanically, staring at the beautiful apartment they deemed too terrible to visit. 30 minutes later, a gentle knock interrupted my misery. I'd forgotten about Grandma Frances. I wiped my eyes and opened the door to find her standing there with a beautifully wrapped gift and the biggest smile. "I'm so sorry I'm late, sweetheart. Traffic was murder." She handed me the gift, a crystal vase that must have cost more than I spent on groceries in a month. Heavy, elegant, catching the light like captured rainbows. "Grandma, this is gorgeous. Thank you so much." She studied my face with the sharp attention of someone who'd raised 4 children and buried numerous family dramas. "Haven, have you been crying? Your eyes are red." So I told her everything. The promises to come, the restaurant photo, the text calling my apartment terrible. By the time I finished, Grandma's face had gone red with anger. I'd never seen her so furious. She started to pull out her phone, then stopped and put it back in her purse. "Actually, no. I have a better idea." Her expression shifted into something I'd never seen before, calculating, determined. "I know exactly how to make them regret treating you like this." "What kind of idea?" She sat down on my couch and patted the spot beside her. "Come sit with me, honey. There's something I need to tell you." I sat down, still holding the beautiful vase. "Haven, that vase isn't the only gift I brought tonight." She reached into her purse and pulled out a manila folder. "I've been watching you for years, watching how hard you work for everything you have, how you save every penny, do everything yourself, never ask anyone for help." She handed me the folder. "Your sister, on the other hand, has had everything handed to her. Your parents paid $30,000 for her wedding. They gave her and Damien $15,000 for their house down payment. Everything comes easy for Jennifer." "Grandma, what is this?" "Open it." My hands shook as I opened the folder. Inside were official-looking documents covered in legal language. At first, I couldn't make sense of what I was seeing. Then I noticed the address at the top and my heart stopped. It was Grandma's lake house. The sprawling property where I'd spent magical summer weeks as a child, swimming in clear water and catching fireflies in mason jars. "Grandma, what is this?" "It's yours now, Haven. I transferred the deed to your name last week. The house belongs to you." I stared at the papers, unable to process what I was hearing. "It's worth about $400,000. Prime lakefront property, completely paid off." She settled back into the couch with satisfaction. "I was going to announce this gift tonight at your housewarming party, in front of your whole family. And then I was going to give Jennifer $250,000 in cash to balance things out." My vision blurred with tears. "But they didn't show up, did they? They humiliated you instead. They chose some fancy restaurant over celebrating your accomplishment." Her voice hardened. "So Jennifer gets nothing." "Grandma, are you serious?" "Dead serious. And that's not all." She pulled out her checkbook and wrote out a check right there on my couch. When she handed it to me, I nearly fainted. $250,000. Made out to me. "This should pay off most of your mortgage, Haven. Your monthly payments will be practically nothing after this." I was crying so hard I could barely speak. "Why are you doing this?" "Because you deserve it. Because you've shown me who you really are. Because your family treated you terribly tonight and I won't stand for it." She stood up and smoothed her skirt. "Now I want you to take a picture of us together, with me holding those house documents." "Why?" Grandma smiled, but it wasn't her usual sweet smile. This one had teeth. "Because your family is about to learn that actions have consequences." I took the picture. Grandma held up the deed while we both smiled at the camera. I posted it immediately to Instagram and Facebook with the caption, "My amazing grandmother just gave me the most incredible gift, her beautiful lake house. I'm so blessed and grateful." Within minutes, likes and comments poured in. Friends from work, college buddies, neighbors, everyone congratulating me and marveling at my luck. Perfect, Grandma said, watching the notifications pop up. Now we wait. She stayed another hour, and we talked about everything except my family. When her taxi arrived, I hugged her longer than usual. After she left, I sat in my apartment holding the deed and the check, feeling like I was living someone else's life. A few hours ago, I'd been crying over cold takeout, feeling like the biggest failure in the world. Now I owned a $400,000 property and had enough money to almost eliminate my mortgage. I fell asleep that night feeling genuinely happy for the first time in months. Sunday morning arrived with my phone ringing incessantly. 8 a.m. and someone was calling over and over. I checked my screen, 17 missed calls from Mom, Dad, Jennifer, and Damien. I remembered the Instagram post and smiled. Turning my phone to silent, I rolled over and went back to sleep. I wasn't ready to deal with them yet. But the calls kept coming. Every few minutes, another call. Then the text messages started, growing more frantic by the hour. Mom, Haven, I don't know what you told Grandma Frances, but you need to fix this right now. Jennifer, you're such a selfish bitch. That house should go to someone with a family. Dad, your grandmother has clearly lost her mind. We're coming over to talk sense into you. Jennifer again, you probably manipulated an old woman into giving you her house. You should be ashamed. I took screenshots of every message, especially the ones where Jennifer called me names and they suggested Grandma was senile. The messages got nastier throughout the day. They called me manipulative, said I didn't deserve the house, suggested Grandma was too old to make good decisions. I didn't respond to any of it. I just saved every screenshot and waited. Around 4 p.m., pounding on my door interrupted my peaceful afternoon. Through the peephole, I saw Mom and Jennifer looking furious. Haven, we know you're in there. Open this door. I spoke through the door without opening it. Sorry, you missed my housewarming party. And besides, I thought this apartment was too terrible for you. You don't need that house. Jennifer's voice was shrill with desperation. You don't even have a family. I'm pregnant, Haven. I need that house for my baby. I laughed out loud. Congratulations on the pregnancy, Jennifer. Still not giving you my house. Then we don't consider you family anymore, Mom said through the door. I laughed harder. That's your problem, not mine. I went into my bedroom, turned up the TV, and ignored their increasingly desperate pounding. After 10 minutes, they gave up and left. A few days later, Grandma called. Haven, honey, I'm having a family meeting at my house tomorrow evening. Can you come by around 6? The steel in her voice told me this wasn't going to be a casual chat. I arrived at Grandma's house exactly at 6. Through the front window, I could see my parents, Jennifer, and Damien sitting in the living room looking deeply uncomfortable. The moment I walked in, Jennifer jumped up. Grandma, she manipulated you. She made you give her that house. Sit down, Jennifer. Grandma's voice could have cut glass. I called this meeting, so I'll do the talking. Jennifer sat, but she glared at me like I'd personally destroyed her life. Grandma stood in front of all of us like a judge delivering a verdict. I gathered you here because I have an announcement. Your behavior at Haven's housewarming party was disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Now wait a minute, Dad started. No, Anthony. You wait. You promised your daughter you'd celebrate her accomplishment. Instead, you went to some fancy restaurant and sent her pictures of how much fun you were having without her. Mom tried to defend herself. We didn't think. You didn't think. That's exactly right. You didn't think about how cruel that was. Grandma's voice carried the authority of someone who'd dealt with family drama for decades. I was going to announce Haven's house gift at the party and then give Jennifer here a check for $250,000. Jennifer's eyes went huge. You were going to give me what? $250,000. But since you couldn't be bothered to show up and support your sister, you get nothing. This is insane. Jennifer stood up, tears streaming down her face. I'm having a baby. It's not fair that she gets everything. Life isn't fair, Jennifer. But it's especially unfair when you treat people badly and expect to be rewarded for it. Mom and Dad sat with their mouths hanging open like landed fish. You can't do this, Mom finally managed. Jennifer is pregnant. She needs help more than Haven does. Really? Grandma's eyebrows shot up. Did Jennifer save money for 8 years like Haven did? Did Jennifer work nights and weekends renovating her place with her own hands? Or did you pay for her wedding and her down payment while Haven got nothing? Silence. That's what I thought. Grandma sat down in her favorite chair. And let me tell you something else. I still have plenty of assets left. I could very easily remove certain people from my will completely. People who think it's okay to humiliate and hurt others. You could have heard a pin drop. Mom, Dad, and Jennifer looked absolutely terrified. I'll be watching all of you very carefully from now on. And I can change that will anytime I want. Jennifer was sobbing now. This isn't fair. This isn't fair. You know what's not fair? I said, speaking up for the first time. Getting texts calling me selfish and manipulative. Having Jennifer call me a bitch. Having you say Grandma lost her mind just because she was kind to me. I pulled out my phone and showed them the screenshots. I saved every message you sent. Every name you called me, every nasty thing you said about Grandma. Grandma looked at the screenshots and her expression turned even more stern. This is how you spoke about me? Saying I lost my mind? Nobody answered. Well then, I think my decision about the will just became even easier. That day marked the end of what I'd known as family and the beginning of something much more authentic. I deposited the check the following week, watching my mortgage payment drop from $1,500 a month to $300. I visited the lake house, changing all the locks immediately, and stood on the private dock, watching sunlight dance across water that stretched to the horizon. Mom called a few weeks later, her voice sticky with forced sweetness. Haven, we'd love to have you for dinner this Saturday. To make peace and be a close family again. I laughed. We were never a close family, Mom. You're just scared Grandma's going to cut you out of her will. That's not true, she said, but I could hear the lie. I'm not interested in fake family dinners. You made your choice when you ditched my housewarming party. I hung up and blocked their numbers without hesitation. These days, Grandma and I have dinner every week. She tells me stories about family members I never knew existed, and I show her pictures of my latest home improvement projects. She's shown me what real love looks like, not conditional support that evaporates when you need it most, but steady presence that celebrates your victories and cushions your falls. My apartment is beautiful, my lake house is gorgeous, and my mortgage is practically non-existent. I built my dream with my own hands, with help from the one person who truly had my back. Sometimes the best family isn't the one you're born into, it's the one that actually shows up for you. As for the rest, their loss became my greatest blessing. Thanks for listening, and if you liked this story, share it with others, and don't forget to comment and subscribe for more stories about finding unexpected blessings in life's darkest moments. Remember, sometimes when people show you who they are, believe them the first time.